today. My name is Natalie and I will be guiding you through this Vinyasa Flow style practice today. So first of all, if you don't have any yoga blocks or bricks, come to find something that could substitute for this, so maybe books, phone books if we still have these, anything at all, just to help find a little support and bring the earth up to you whenever we need to. So whenever we're ready, we will come down to the ground and start our practice in a comfortable Shavasana. The legs might be out long, the feet might like to come to the ground as wide as the mat and allow the knees to collapse in towards each other. Then notice how the arms are. As we settle into our mat and into our practice, invite this heaviness and this release throughout the entire body. Can we shake off all of the tension that we might be holding onto in particular parts of our body? Maybe around the jaw and the shoulders. Can we consciously melt these down towards the ground? And put our to-do list to one side as we let go of the events of the day thus far. Tuning right away into our breath. We're inhaling and knowing that we're inhaling. And exhaling, knowing that we're exhaling. Just feeling the rib cage expand, the lungs fill up with air and then empty out. Really noticing this full range of our breath. And then start to notice the space in your body where you feel your breath the most. And we call this space our anchor. And every time our mind wanders away from our mat, we get distracted by a thought or a sensation, can we bring our attention back to our anchor? Notice how this might change as we flow through our practice, where this space is. But wherever it moves to, just keep tethering back and reminding yourself to simply breathe in and breathe out. That's all we need to do here. Notice where your awareness is. On your next exhale, can we soften even more into the ground, supporting us beneath us? Finding 5 more of your own breaths here. As we find a little more quiet, can we explore a little more space between our thoughts and start to listen into our body and exactly what it needs today. On your final exhale, moving gently, everybody lengthening the legs out long. And reaching the arms all the way back, taking a big lengthening from the toes to the heels, breathing in, breathing out, softening slightly 2 more times, inhaling to lengthen, exhaling to soften once more. And on your third and final exhale, hug the knees in. Rock gently from side to side, hands soften onto the shins. Then coming back to center, lengthening the left leg out long or bringing the foot to the earth and keeping the knee bent. But interlace the hands onto the right shin, curl the forehead towards the knee, rounding through the spine. On your exhale, releasing the head back down, taking the right hand onto the knee and finding 3 circles one way, 3 circles the other way, but taking this nice and slowly, really exploring the space you have around the hips today. Coming back to center, keeping the right knee hugging in towards the armpit as we kick the foot towards the sky. Half a happy baby pose, hand rests either on the hamstring, the calf, or the outer edge of the right foot. Notice where there's space today, listen in, keep this soft, be kind to yourself, and breathe here. Like to, for our last breath, explore lengthening the right leg out long and releasing back onto the ground, lifting the left leg up and in, finding our little dance on the other side. Hands interlace on the shin, then curling the forehead up, rounding through the spine, breathing in, and as you breathe out, soften the head. Take the left hand to the knee, find your 3 circles one way, 3 circles the other way, nice and slowly, moving with intention. So whenever you finish, coming back to center, knee comes towards the armpit, we kick the foot towards the sky, half a happy baby. So really keeping the knee generously bending in, resting the hand wherever feels most comfortable. Resist the urge to go to the furthest place away, right away, until there's space in the body to do so. And in 2 more breaths here. As you exhale, release, bringing the soles of the feet together, opening the knees out wide in your Supta Baddha Konasana, being aware of this space around the lower back. And if it's arching all the way up, can we reduce the gap between our spine and the ground? We're finding this natural curve still, so we're not pushing all the way back down to the mat. We're keeping this natural curve in the spine. Using the hands to bring the knees back towards each other as we lift the shins parallel to the sky. Interlace the hands behind the head, lifting the head, neck and shoulders off the earth. Elbows stay nice and wide. We have a few options here. We can either tap the toes down 1 foot at a time. We might like to tap both feet down at the same time. Or if we've been practicing for a while, lengthening the legs. And sending the long legs down to the ground, lifting all the way back up and moving slowly here. So imagining as if you're moving in slow motion, keeping the shoulders lifted. Wherever you are, being aware of the space around the lower back, and if it's starting to arch off the mat, can we maybe take a step down here? We might like to bring the thighs a little bit closer towards our chest. And finding 3 more breaths here. Be careful not to crunch in the back of the neck, so keeping this space as we lengthen. And after your final exhale, everybody lengthening the legs, reaching the fingertips towards the toes, head, neck and shoulders stay reaching off the ground. We lift a little higher, and soften halfway down, lifting a little higher. Softening halfway down, one more time, lifting and releasing. Hands to the hamstrings, chin tucked into the chest as we start to roll up and down the length of our spine. Take as many rolls here as feels good for you. Nice, and then coming to lift our hips up onto our flat block. If we don't have our flat block, we can take our book, our cushion, pillow, anything we have at all to just help find a little bit more space around the hip joint. So keeping this heaviness in the lower body, we'll reach the arms out wide, spreading our wings. Then reach towards the sky, gazing up and softening 2 more times, marrying your movement to your breath. Nice, planting the right hand down, left hand reaches, keep it reaching and lengthening as we fold. Right ribcage keeps spiraling towards the sky as we breathe into this space in our left side body. One more breath here before floating back to center, over to the left. Keep reaching as you fold. Keeping the shoulders nice and soft away from the ears. One more breath here. Then floating both hands high towards the sky and releasing the palms together at the heart. Shaking through the wrists, shaking the hands, finding space between the fingers as we jump forwards into a tabletop all fours. With our wrists beneath our shoulders, knees beneath our hips, we'll bump our hips over now to the left. Take our gaze past our right shoulder. Bump our hips to the right, take our gaze past our left. One more time to each side, moving softly, just waking up the body. We'll meet back in center, pressing through the palms to lift out of the shoulder space and taking all of our attention to our rib cage as we float the ribs over to the left and down towards the ground, lifting our tailbone, lifting our gaze, cow pose. Ribs roll to the right and up towards the sky, dropping the tailbone and the head down, pulling the spine up into our cat pose. And sending our circle in the other direction, ribs to the right, down towards the ground, lifting cow pose, noticing the movement in the rib cage and the spine. Ribs float to the left, and then up towards the sky, arching into our angry cat, really curling the spine up, nice. And then sending our tailbone up, rolling through each vertebra of our spine. We'll lift our gaze, cow pose. And dropping the tailbone back down. Spine moving in individual parts, dropping our gaze, cat pose. And floating all the way back to center. Planting the right hand down as we reach the left hand towards the sky. And thread it through and under the bridge of the right arm, but find your flow here. Open all the way back up and release. And we move with our breath once more, opening. And this time coming to rest on the left ear, threading the needle. We might like to bring some support underneath our head and neck. And we might like to reach the right hand all the way back to the small of the back, finding a bit more of a twist and a rotation here, but listen to where there's space. On your next exhale, press down through the right palm into the earth as we float the left hand high towards the sky. And softening back into our tabletop. This time, left hand roots down, right hand reaches. We find space first, opening and then threading our needle through and under the bridge of the left arm. 2 more times. Resting on the right ear. Option to send the left hand around to the small of the back. Finding 1 more breath before pressing down through the left palm, lifting all the way up and out, and then softening down into our tabletop, tucking our toes under as we sit back onto the heels. As we sit back, we'll start to roll all the way to the left, forwards over the wrists, and round in a big circle. 2 more times. Just get everything moving here. And then reversing your circle in the opposite direction. Nice. Coming back to center, pressing into the palms. And tucking the toes under as we sit back on the heels. We'll reach the arms out a bit longer, but keep pressing down. As we float the knees off the ground, we'll lead with our hips, reaching towards the sky, downward facing dog. Start to pedal through the heels. Bend the knees, exploring even more space from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. Nice, wiggling the hips. And then slowly bringing the knees back down to the ground, tucking the toes, sitting back on the heels. And lifting the hips high, downward facing dog. Notice your breath here. If we started to clench the jaw, can we find even more of a softness? Then coming back to bend the knees even more, sitting down onto the heels. Lengthening the spine 1 more time, lifting high, downward facing dog. This time, we'll imagine we're moving through slow motion as we rock the shoulders forwards over the wrists and start to lower the knees to the ground. But before they touch, hover them off the earth. Keep hovering, and float the knees wide, bring the big toes to touch, sit back on the heels in a child's pose. I know we can explore our child's pose at any time throughout our practice today, so really make this work for you and feel really comfortable. You might like to bring something underneath the forehead or something in between the heels and the hips to allow yourself to soften here. In your own time, lifting your way back up and into your tabletop. Tucking the toes under. And this time, as we press through our palms, we'll keep pressing as we lift the knees just off the earth. Lengthening the right leg back, lengthening the left leg back. Coming into a high plank, so notice if the hips are collapsing down or lifting high, almost like a down dog. Can we try and find this long line from our crown to our heels? We can always find a low plank if we want to, walking the knees a little bit further back, always keeping the shoulders over the wrists. And if we're in our high plank, start to slowly hover the knees down to the ground. And if we're in low plank, just lift the knees off the earth slightly. Nice, and then come back to your plank pose, knees lifted or lowered. 2 more times. Keep pressing into the palms, releasing, hovering off, and lifting back. Nice, if the knees are lifted, send away through the heels one more time. And coming back to your plank pose for one breath. And everybody coming down to our low plank. Sending the elbows behind us as we slowly lower to the earth. Taking the feet as wide as the mat. Hands come back by our rib cage. Rolling the shoulders forwards, round and back. We lift our heart, find extension through our spine in our Cobra, Bhujangasana. Softening down to the ground, lifting on our exhale. Keeping our spine long. Finding an extension from the head and neck to the spine. And releasing one more time. Lightly pressing into the palms, keeping the elbows bent. Nice, coming all the way back. This time pressing into the palms, lifting your way into your child's pose, or making your way straight into your downward facing dog. Lifting the hips high, pedaling through the heels. If you're in child's pose, make your way to down dog. Everybody walking, stepping or hopping the feet forwards, or find a fold with the feet hips distance apart. Knees bent, crown of the head releasing down, arms, hands and shoulders really, really soft. Start to swing from side to side like a pendulum. And as we float back to center, we'll lift up halfway, finding a flat back from our crown to our tail. Hands either reaching back like airplane wings or palms coming onto the thighs. And releasing down to the ground. Again, lifting up halfway. Hands might come down onto the shins this time, keeping this length. And exhaling, releasing one more time, lifting up halfway. Hands might come down, fingertips to the earth. Wherever we are, find this space and this length. Before releasing down to the ground, tucking the chin in and slowly rolling up to standing. Nice and slow. Finding our mountain pose with our feet hips distance apart, toes tracking forwards, knees over the toes, floating the fingertips wide, reaching for the sky. And as we release, swan dive, lead with the heart, folding forwards. On your inhale, lifting up halfway, finding your version of a flat back. Exhaling to fold. Rooting down through the feet to slowly rise up to standing, reach the arms. Nice, this time palms come together at the heart. We bend our knees generously, send our sitting bones to the back of our mat. Sitting back in our Utkatasana, chair pose. Thumbs lift towards the heart, heart lifts towards the thumbs. Can we find even more length in our spine from our tailbone to our crown? Option to stay here or float the fingertips back, airplane wings. Maybe we rock off the heels onto the toes, sitting back a little lower. Can we explore even more space between our shoulders and our earlobes? Finding one more breath here. Before folding straight forwards. On your inhale, lifting up halfway, your flat back. Exhale to fold, planting the palms. Stepping or hopping back into your plank pose, knees lifted or lowered. And then sending the knees down, elbows float behind. We lower to the earth, feet come wide, hands to the ribs. As we lift our heart, shoulders come back, cobra. And softening. Making your way back into your plank pose. And everybody meeting with the hips lifting high, downward facing dog. Floating the left leg back off the earth, three-legged dog. Bending the left knee and hovering it forwards towards the left elbow, upper body's in plank. Now we can do this from our all fours too. Lifting back, three-legged dog. Left knee towards the right elbow, crossing it over. Lifting back, three-legged dog. And then left knee towards the nose, curling through the spine. Lifting back, three-legged dog. And stepping the left foot forwards, finding a lunge with the back knee lifted or lowering it down. Everybody lifting out of the front leg, taking this nice wide stance. Softening the elbows and the shoulders, finding cactus arms. With the front knee staying over the front ankle, toes soft. Breathing in and breathing out. Then soften the right hand down to your brick or to the earth. As the left hand spirals the ribs over to the left side and reaches towards the sky. Notice your front knee in your twist. Is it splaying out or splaying in? If you had the back knee lowered down to the ground, option to lift it off now. Explore this. And wherever we are, windmilling the hand all the way back, forwards and round, and then forwards, round and back. Just exploring the space through the shoulder. Coming back into our twist, finding one more breath here. Before lifting the upper body, so your right hand comes off your brick and reaches forwards. Left hand reaches back, back knee lifted or lowered. The left hand softens back onto the right thigh or glute. Right hand reaches towards the sky, breathing into this space in our front body. Nice. If the back knee's lifted, keep sending away through the heel. Finding one more breath here before floating back to your lunge. Both arms reach towards the sky. And then taking the left wrist with the right hand. Really slowly fold over towards the right side. Nice and softly. Find one more breath here. Before softening back to center, planting the palms. Making your way back into your plank pose. And either coming straight to your down dog or child's pose. Or sending the knees down, elbows back. Planting the palms, softly rising into your cobra. And releasing down to the ground. Everybody meeting in a downward facing dog, but take your time to arrive there. There's no rush. We'll come to meet here, floating the right leg off the ground. Really sending away in our three-legged dog. Then bending the right knee, hovering it forwards towards the right elbow. Doing this either in our plank or tabletop. Lifting back, three-legged dog. And crossing over, right knee to left elbow. Lifting back, three-legged dog. Then right knee towards the nose, curling through the center. Lifting back, three-legged dog. The right foot steps forwards. We rise into our lunge, back knee lifted or lowered on our train track, two parallel lines. Cactus arms. Nice. Breathing here. And then floating our left hand down to our brick or to the earth. Right hand spirals the rib cage over to the right side and reaches towards the sky. Nice, staying here in your twist. Then finding your windmill arm, coming all the way back, round and forwards. And all the way forwards, round and back. Nice. Coming back into your twist and staying here. As we lift the left hand away from the earth, reach it forwards, reach the right hand back. Keep twisting. Keep lengthening. And as the right arm reaches back, the left hand will reach towards the sky. Finding space, breathing in, breathing out. 2 more breaths here. And making your way back into your lunge. Still back knee lifted or lowered. We'll take the left wrist with the right hand, reaching up and folding gently over to the right side, breathing into the space in our left side body, keeping the toes soft on the earth. Finding one more breath here before coming back and planting the palms, stepping into your version of plank pose, either coming to down dog, child's pose, or this time keeping the knees lifted or lowering them down, yogi's choice. Sending the elbows back and lowering down as we rise into our cobra. Soften to the earth, plant the palms, make your way into your downward facing dog. Moving mindfully as we lift the hips high. Then walking, stepping or hopping the feet forwards, finding our fold. Releasing the head, then inhaling to lift up halfway, your flat back. Keep the knees soft and folding down. Rooting down through the feet to start to rise up, but sitting straight back in our chair pose. Palms together at the heart. Or maybe we explore our airplane arms straight away, lifting off our heels onto our toes, sitting back a little lower. And everybody here bringing the heels down, taking our weight into our left leg as we lift our right leg just away from the earth, keeping in this like half chair pose. And then lengthening, we'll reach the right leg a little higher, standing one-legged mountain pose, arms reach. And floating the right leg back. Maybe the toes come on the earth. Maybe we keep the leg lifted as we kick away through the heel. Start to find extension through our spine like we did in our cobra pose. But this time in our warrior 3. Finding one more breath here. Before planting the right leg down, coming back into your chair pose. Taking the weight over to the right leg. Lifting the left leg just off the earth. And then towards the sky, standing one-legged Tadasana, reaching, lengthening. And kicking the left leg back, airplane arms. Finding your version of warrior 3, lengthening through the spine. One more breath here before softening the left foot into your chair pose. Palms come together at the heart. We meet for one more breath before folding forwards, inhaling to lift up halfway. Exhaling to fold. Planting the palms, stepping or hopping back to your plank. Either coming to down dog, child's pose, or find your way down to the ground and into your cobra, lengthening. And releasing, everybody meeting in downward facing dog. This time floating the left leg off the earth, 3-legged dog. We'll bend the left knee, step it straight forwards into our nice wide stance in our lunge. Keeping the back knee lifted, growing from the foundation as we reach the arms, soften into cactus arms. And then pivot the back foot onto the ground. As the ribs spiral over to the right side of our mat, our thighs externally rotate and our arms reach. Warrior 2, keeping the front knee bent and the back leg long. Our gaze floats to our front fingertips as we float them down the front leg. All the way through to the toes and keep reaching forwards. And keep reaching as we rise. Front knee stays bent. Lifting our gaze into our reverse warrior. Right hand softens onto the thigh, hamstring or calf. And floating back, warrior 2. Pivoting the left foot all the way in, finding a wide-legged stance here. Rooting down through the knife edge of the outer edges of both feet. Hands come to the hips. As we keep lengthening through our spine, we'll fold down as far as we can go until our spine starts to round. wide-legged, forward fold here. Maybe the fingertips come down to our props or to the earth. Still keeping this length through our spine, the softness in the knees. Finding one more breath here. Before slowly lifting all the way back up. Turning the right toes out and stepping the left foot a little bit wider. So we're finding this wide stance again. And go through your checklist, spiraling the ribs over, thighs externally rotating, front knee bends, back leg long, arms reach. Warrior two. Drishti or gaze to our front fingertips, floating them down the front leg. Reaching all the way forwards, keep reaching as we rise back. Reverse warrior. Notice your breath. Floating back to our warrior two. And then turning the right toes in. Then stepping into your wide-legged stance. Hands come to the hips as we lengthen or hinge forwards from the hips. And this time rolling all the way down, crown of the head towards the earth. Arms can soften if that feels good. We'll float over to the right leg, bending the right knee. And over to the left leg, bending the left knee. Nice, then coming all the way back to center. Slowly rolling all the way back up. Nice. And heel toeing the feet towards each other. And then scooting to turn to the front of our mat as we took our chin towards our chest, rolling down our spine. Inhaling to lift up halfway, finding your flat back. Exhaling to fold, planting the palms, stepping or hopping your way back into your downward facing dog, or coming all the way into your plank and then down to your cobra. But wherever you are, wherever you've chosen, listen to your body and meet in downward facing dog. Nice, then walking, stepping or hopping the feet back forwards. Finding our fold. We'll inhale to lift up halfway, exhale to release. And as we rise, we'll float the fingertips all the way towards the sky. Hands come down at the heart, chair pose. Finding a twist as we twist over to the right side of our mat. We'll keep our low body where it is. We're exploring this rotation through the center of our torso, through our ribs and our spine. And staying in your twist as you step the left leg straight back into a lunge. Nice wide stance, reaching the back heel away. Then pivoting the left foot down to the ground, spiraling over to the other side of our mat, arms reach. We set up in our warrior two. Reaching the front hand down the front leg, keep it reaching as we rise, reverse warrior. And floating back, warrior two. And pivoting on the back foot. We'll release the stomach down towards the thighs in an airplane lunge. Breathing here. Inhaling and exhaling. Keep sending the back heel away as we lengthen even more through our spine. And then stepping the back foot in slightly. Start to float the back toes off the ground. Sending away through the heel as we extend through our spine, warrior three. And perhaps we stay here, finding a variation that works for us. Or maybe we bring our right hand down to our brick, block, prop, whatever we have. Use the left hand to spiral the ribs open to the left side. Turning the hip out and coming into our half moon pose. Right hand, left hand can stay on the hip or reach towards the sky. Notice your breath here. Some days we balance really well, some days maybe not so much, but rather than judging ourselves, can we just be really present with exactly what we feel now and exactly how we are. Everything is as it's meant to be. Finding one more breath here before stepping back, airplane lunge. Hands come together at the heart. We twist back over our right leg. Nice, thumbs towards the heart space. And then stepping straight into our chair pose twist. On to the other side. Twist into the left side of our mat. Stepping the right leg back, coming into our wide stance in our lunge. And pivoting the back foot to the ground. Lifting, rooting down to rise up, opening warrior two. Floating the front hand down the front leg. Keep reaching as we rise. Reverse warrior. Floating back. Warrior two, pivoting on the back foot. Airplane lunge. Finding space. Keeping the front toes soft. And then stepping the back foot in slightly. Really root down through the sole of the left foot as we float into our version of warrior three. Stay here or bring the left hand down to a brick. Rib spiral open to the right. And maybe the right hand reaches. Maybe that's for today or for another day about 10 years from now. So don't take things too seriously, just breathe, smile, laugh, enjoy. Wherever we are. If we fall, don't worry, the ground is always there to catch you. One more breath. Before stepping the right leg back, airplane lunge. Palms float together at the heart, we twist over to the left side. And coming all the way into our chair pose, coming back to center, finding 3 more breaths here. Any variation, listen to where the arms want to be. Maybe we lift off the heels. Maybe we just do one heel at a time. On your third and final exhale, fold forwards. Keep the knees soft. And then lift up halfway, flat back. Folding, taking opposite hand to opposite elbow. And sway softly from side to side. Planting the palms, stepping or hopping back to your plank pose, either lowering straight down into your child's pose or taking one last cobra. Everybody meeting in Balasana. Knees float wide, big toes come to touch, sitting all the way back, snuggling into your beautiful child's pose. Notice your anchor here. Where do you feel your breath the most? Can you connect simply to that space for 3 more breaths? And everybody, if you reach the arms back, reach them back forwards as we float the hands over to the left side of our mat. Maybe they come all the way off the mat. Just keeping the hips softening down to the heels. And floating through center and over to the right. tabletop. Knees back to parallel, tucking the toes under. Sitting the hips back, arms forwards. Leading with the hips all the way towards the sky, our last downward facing dog. Find softness. Pedal through. And for your next 3 breaths, inhale through the nose and exhale, sigh it out of the mouth. 2 more times. And then as slow as you can go. Roll the shoulders forwards over the wrists. Release the knees down towards the ground. Hover them off just before they get there. Nice. And come all the way down to the ground. Well done. Scoot the legs to one side and come through to sit. Your hips up onto anything. It can be a block if you have one. It can be a cushion, a pillow, a book. We just want to try and help find a little bit more support and a little bit more space around the hips, spine area. So bringing yourself to the front of your block or prop, whatever you have. Lengthening the legs out long and keeping this really nice bend in the knees. If you have more space, you can lengthen them a little bit more, but just be mindful to keep at least a micro bend here. And if you start to feel any pulling at all, just bring that bend all the way back up. So lifting our toes up towards our face. We'll keep lengthening through the spine, lifting the heart. And keep lifting as we fold. Start to bring our stomach down towards our thighs. Resting the hands wherever they lie naturally, either on the mat, on our legs, feet, ankles, knees, shins, wherever. And just be really mindful of this space around the head and neck. So if we're dropping all the way down or crunching up, can we find this way to release this tension here? And your spine will curve a little bit. There is a natural curve in the spine. What we're just trying to avoid is this sort of hunched collapsed spine, because that'll put a lot of pressure on areas that we don't want to. So keeping as much length as we can. And slowly unraveling, lifting back up. Hands come behind us, feet come wide. And we roll the right thigh out, left thigh in. And then windscreen wiper the knees over to the left, over to the right, and back over to the left. Nice, lifting your hips up off your block now. Facing it to one side, we'll bring the feet to the ground, parallel apart, hands come behind us, fingertips facing forwards. So lifting our heart space, we'll find extension as we lift our gaze, shoulders back, breathing in. And on your breath out, pull the chin towards the chest, rounding the spine into flexion. Moving with your breath, inhaling to open, exhaling to fold. One more time. We'll meet back in our neutral spine whenever you're ready, pressing down through the palms and through the feet. As we slowly start to lift the hips away from the ground. They might just lift to here. They might lift all the way up into your reverse tabletop, but just notice exactly where you are today. Can the toes stay on the ground as we find support from the earth? And where's the head? Listen to what the head and neck are saying. Are they coming all the way back here? Ooh, this is very fussy. Or is it crunching all the way forwards? Can we lift our gaze? Nice. And then slowly rolling all the way back down. Nice, taking a breath here. And rooting down to rise up, mindfully lifting the hips off the earth. Nice, one more breath here before releasing down to the ground. Taking a breath. And last time, rooting down to rise up. There's so much going on here, so much space needed, so really just take it at your own pace. Listen to your own body. I'm only here to guide you as much as I can through the screen. So finding one more breath. Rolling all the way down. Reaching the hands forwards and curling the spine back down onto the earth. Keeping the knees bent as we interlace the hands. Reach the palms all the way back. And then curling the knees all the way up. Forehead towards the knees and rounding into a tight ball. Softening the head back down, but keeping the knees hugging in as we take the knees as wide as our armpits. Kicking our feet towards the sky, hands to the hamstrings, calves, or outer edges of the feet. We find our full happy baby pose here. And I invite you to rock from side to side. Really take what movement you need. Maybe you lengthen one leg. Maybe you lengthen the other leg. Maybe you lengthen both legs, or just staying here. Or find 5 more breaths. And if happy baby doesn't feel good for you, you might like to take knee circles or just rock gently with the feet releasing, or come to an early Shavasana. If you're in happy baby, notice if the lower back and glutes are curling off the mat like this, obviously in a very over-exaggerated version. But if they are, maybe we need to bring the hands a little bit lower down to find a bit more space through the hips first. And on your final exhale, everybody slowly sending the legs out long and the arms down by our sides. Coming to our final and most precious resting posture, Shavasana. Now take up space here on your mat and find any comfortable position that feels good for you. I invite you to put on some warmer clothing, or bring a pillow underneath the head or neck, or the lower part of the hamstrings, which feels really, really good for the lower back. But make as little fuss as possible. And come to find this heaviness melting the entire body into the earth. Reconnecting to your anchor. Where is it as we lie here? And can we simply let our breath come and let our breath go? Finding space between our thoughts. Allowing the benefits of our practice to be sealed within us. Notice where your attention is here. Bring it back to the space if it's wandered. The only time we have is now. I invite you to stay here for as long as you'd like to. If you have to boot, scoot and boogie, and bring in the palms together at the heart space. I thank you for your time, your love, your energy and your practice. From my heart to yours, Namaste.